I think I got the invite on our delayed start to this podcast because we wanted to do it as a post game. I didn't tag Justin if he's there. Sorry, Justin, but if you check Twitter right now, my account. Oops, my bad, my bad. All right, well, we'll let people file in. I don't know why my internet stink right now. Come on now, pick it up. That was cool tonight, and Justin was out there. Justin was also in Denver, so we'll probably do a couple of legal stories. But honestly, tonight's going to be about what the Knights just did. We'll take all your comments. I think Judge Dan, who has now turned himself into the Avs expert in Denver, which, by the way, says a lot about Denver as a hockey market that, most of their radio, and this is coming from me, most of their radio guys are like, hockey, schmucky. So he's going to come in a couple of minutes. So where do we start? That is cool. What happened tonight. And I don't get cheesy very often about Vegas sports and national sports, but there is something about this team that is like community bonding. And we don't have, 1 October in the backdrop this time around. There's just something cool about what's going on right now. And man, that was a good game. It was a back and forth game. And then you were at the arena. Were you starting to batten down the hatches? You're like, oh shit, the final 8 minutes here, whatever it was, when it's 4-3 are going to be like onslaught. It's going to be intense as they throw everything in the kitchen sink at Fleury. What was in the arena? What was it like in the arena before they finally got the insurance goal?
Yeah, so just to talk about what you were saying initially, like this year feels special again. I think part of that is, coming out of the pandemic, we were the first arena to be full capacity. We got, again, the Golden Knights are sort of there for the community to sort of come back out of something together. And so I felt that when we got back into the arena. I've been at every game since they've come back, or at every attendance level since they've come back, not every single game, but every time they've elevated it. And, it didn't really feel real until they hit that 12,000 mark. And then when it, just opened all the way up. So I think there are some similarities to that year one in that this team means something to the community beyond just being a professional sports team. And this year is a little bit different, I'm going to say, in the playoffs. I've only missed one home playoff game in the 4 years the Golden Knights have played, and that was just Game 7 against Minnesota because I happened to be in Denver, and I went to Game 1 in Denver. I was visiting my brother who lives there, and I don't remember this happening any previous year, but when they win a game, the fans, number one, don't want to leave. And then when they do leave, the chanting does not stop. It does not get quiet and everybody walks out, and goes finds their cars. The chanting in the concourse, the chanting outside the plaza, is just, it's crazy. It's constant. And after Game 4, I specifically went out and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to listen to the post-game radio shows. I'm not going to sit in my car for 30 minutes. I'm just going to sit in Toshiba Plaza for the next 30 minutes and just watch this all go down. And it was cool, man. I was trying to record some of the stuff, but it doesn't really get captured on the phone. But when everybody's come down the escalators and the concourses are full and they get fired up, it is as loud in those concourses as it is during the game when everybody's leaving. And it's really cool. And, I've been able to go to a few road games now and in the playoffs, so I've been to San Jose in the playoffs. I've been to DC in the playoffs. I've been to Denver in the playoffs. I haven't seen anything like that in any of those places. How did it feel tonight? I can tell you how I felt, which is the first goal, I was like, of course, fuck, but we answered so quickly. Then I was like, okay, we're okay. I was nervous all the way up to Carrier's goal that made it 5-3 because we've never closed out at home. It was fucking awesome for them to close it out at home for once. It was awesome to see the handshake line, and it was awesome to cheer them on after they won a series. We've never been able to do that. First time. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through a lot of the reasons last night why I feel like this year's a little bit different in terms of rooting for the Knights than it's been in any previous year. Obviously, year one was completely unique, but I think there's so many cool storylines on the team of guys who were written off or guys that we heard, if they can get rid of them, they might get rid of them. And there's some guys who've hung around and had not a resurrection, but they've become major forces again. I feel like the fans, this is going to sound ridiculous, and anyone watching from outside the market is going to be like, you mother effers. But I feel like the fact that they've been through 3 years and now a fourth, like I hope people appreciate this is hard. Like I saw DeBoer quoted afterwards, and he's like, every series is hard. Like they just beat what did both teams finish with, whatever it was, 78 and 80 points or 80 and 82 respectively. Like I feel like they just beat like two of the top 7 teams in the NHL to get to that. Like these are hard, man. Like people were spoiled the first couple of years. This is a grind. Now we'll see what happens against the Canadians, but it's hard. It's hard to advance in the playoffs.
Yeah, I love DeBoer's comments there. He's like, I grew up a Leafs fan. I was drafted by the Leafs. I've always followed the Leafs, and they haven't gotten out of the first round in 17 years, and it's a good team. He's like, we just beat 2 great teams. This is an amazing accomplishment already, and we're only halfway through. It's like, fuck, man. We're only halfway to the goal. And Brady's right. Sorry, obviously we did close it out against Minnesota, and that's the one game I wasn't there for. Closed it out at home, so they have closed the series out at home. I just wasn't there. So first time I've got to see it, and it was cool. So yeah, 3 conference finals in 4 years. The one time that it wasn't a conference final was bullshit. Who knows where we would have gone that year? And I feel like this team, after what they just did to Colorado, who I thought was the Cup favorite, who, when I was going to visit my brother, who's not a hockey fan, I'm like, you're going to go to this game with me because Colorado is the best team. And if they're not the best team, it's Vegas. They're 1 and 2. And so it's going to be an awesome series. And out of those games that we went to, game 1 and game 5, he became a hockey fan. He's texting me, during the game, he's rooting for Colorado. That's cool. And we had a real good time with it, man. It was, it's special what they're doing. And yeah, it's a fucking grind, man. That's only 8 wins. We got 8 more to go. And I don't know if my voice can take it. I don't know if I could take it, dude. I'm going to tell you, when Carrier scored that goal, fuck it was pandemonium around me. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I don't even have the top of my lungs anymore. I was screaming, and I got woozy from just overdoing it. I was just like, I got to sit down. I'm all done.
By the way, welcome in Mr. Shorty Short. I don't know if you're a regular who changed the name or you're a newbie. That's cool. Brady, explain this because I'm not on the VGK Facebook groups. Have they been ripping on the crowd and, some quiet moments when the crowd gets a little bit nervous? Fill us in on that. Steven says, I've been to playoff baseball, basketball, football. I've never seen a building like that Knights arena. It's loud, man. People, and I think a big part of it, one, there's an appreciation for, it's the first major league team here in town. And it's just it's the whole environment of Vegas in general, even for locals when they go down to the strip and, it's a party, man. People are fired up, they're drinking a little bit and it's a cool environment. I'm not saying Vegas is better than other areas, but I've watched enough of the playoffs and, it's the regular season spots here and there the last 4 years. You do watch other arenas and they are quiet. And then obviously the other thing, Justin, and we can start looking ahead to Montreal. What's Montreal going to be allowed to have in the building? 4?
You think even 4? What their number was 550 people.
I thought it was 25. I thought it was 25. 50
did they bump it?
I thought.
Oh, okay.
And I have no idea what it'll be for this next round, but I mean, what a
Well,
disadvantage. They're going to come here and it's going to be 18,000, and they're going to play in front of 2, 3, and 4,000. And believe me, whatever Canadians fans show up, it's going to be fucking loud, because that, if you've never been to that building, it's a monument to hockey. I know it's a new building. It is one of the biggest arenas I've ever been in. Crazy.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was just talking to my wife as we were coming home, and I'm like, if I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, right? That's my thing. It's obviously going to be your number one fandom.
Come down
and
here.
This year, yep. I'd take 2 weeks off of work right now.
Yep.
I would come down here and be like, yeah, fuck the, they can quarantine me when the series is over. I'm coming down and I'm going to every game, because I can't go in the Bell Center.
Yeah.
I can't go home. So whatever it costs, I'm down here for 2 weeks. I'm going to blow it out on the nights that I'm not in the arena, and I'm going to go to every game.
What do you think you think like a couple thousand? Will it be that many? 1,000?
Probably.
We
Why
know
wouldn't it be?
We know in the past, in normal circumstances, like all the Canadian fans travel, because in the end, it's almost cheaper to come here for a trip, and you get the extra, all the perks of Vegas. I could see some Canadians fans saying, "Fuck this! I hate being locked down here." We've had they've had a lot of issues just getting out the vaccinations, although they're catching up. I would do, if I had the money and the time, I would do the road trip.
Dude, and take this into account too. Fucking Vegas will give vaccinations to anybody. If you're like waiting your turn in Canada, you're not getting your turn, you're not getting your card called, dude, you just fucking go down to Vegas. You get vaccinated to Toshiba Plaza, bro, right before the game.
Right before
they'll do that shit. They will. So, and then you're gonna have the time of your fucking life, right? So let's say you do that plan. Now you got to stay for 3 weeks because you need the second shot. Cool, but you're finally in a place that's not locked down. You're watching your favorite team play hockey in the conference finals. I mean, I know it's not the conference finals, it's the semifinals this time, but I would expect a big number, because like Winnipeg traveled great here in year one. They had, I'm going to say, more than 2,000 in that 18,000 building. I'm going to say it was more like 4,000. And so I'm going to expect those numbers, if not more.
So what did you think some of the coolest moments were tonight in terms of goals scored and turning points? Obviously, it was key early, when freaking Avs steal the momentum like right out of the gates.
Do you know that's the third time this series that they've scored on the first shot of their goal of the game? Third fucking time. I was like, fucking god damn it. Yeah. So I mean, obviously the holding goal was huge just because it happened so quickly. To me, I really felt the turning point was Petrangelo's goal with 17 seconds left at the end of the second. Like that turnaround shot, and I was like, fuck yeah. Going into the third period with the lead is huge.
The brilliance of the kind of whip around by Tuck to freaking hammer it off the glass. It was so hard. There was no time for Grubauer to react.
No, and he actually did a pretty good job to even sort of get in the way there. Yeah. And so Petro had to put a good shot on. So yeah, I liked it. I mean, that to me was the biggest goal. And then obviously I felt like when Carrier's went in, I felt like, okay, we're gonna win this. And then the empty netter, then it was party time. Like everybody knew we were gonna win it then. And then that's kind of when the doors blew off and everybody's like, fuck yeah, we won the series. And no, people weren't even paying attention. I mean, Fleury was under a fucking onslaught for that last 2 minutes, and the people are just like, fuck yeah, we won. I don't care. It might go in. Who cares? And the party had started.
I thought it was cool that Colasar got one, and like you just mentioned, Carrier off of like 19 deflections.
Yep. The fourth line got 2 goals. That's great. I thought Reeves played a great game.
By the way, what do you think going in? I'll tell you on the show, Candy just eviscerated Reeves, because there was a whole reference to Reeves as kind of being he's one of the leaders on the team, and the fact that he didn't play when he came back and he handled it with maturity, and Candy just ripped the fuck out of him. And even I was like, I don't know if I would play Reeves. Right now, you can't make mistakes. You can't have silly plays. And then, his line goes out there and plays a really good game.
So, yeah, I mean, there's no receipts on this, but, we talked in the office about that. We're all big Golden Knights fans. So we have a whole talk every fucking game. And I expected that they were going to put Reeves in because it was back home. I thought it was the right move to not play him in Denver. After game one, I thought he would have been a distraction in Denver. He would have fired up all the fans in Denver. So I'm glad he didn't play in Denver. But I fully expected him to play when they came back home. It's the best game I've seen Reeves play. I'll tell you that. I didn't expect that to be the case. But the other thing I'll note is game 5 was the first time that I saw Colorado attempt to be physical with Vegas. They put White Cloud into the bench. Yeah. They were face washing and they were starting to instigate some of the contact, which they hadn't done.
Yep.
And so I absolutely thought Reeves was going to come. Like Pete DeBoer does not like that shit. He loves to be the instigator, not the instigatee. And so it didn't surprise me at all. I actually thought that Holden was going to be yanked for Haig because they were going to go back to the game 4 lineup. I thought that's what was going to happen, but Holden was in, and clearly it was the right thing, man, because he scored a big goal.
I don't know if you said something. Brady was saying, is that a nice way of saying he's mentally weak and that the crowd in Denver would break him?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that, like, it would be the crowd would be fired up and in the game in spots in which they normally wouldn't be. The Denver crowd is very traditional hockey crowd. They are quiet until there's a reason to be loud. Whereas I think Vegas, and as I understand it, Nashville sort of like this. I have not been to Nashville. Is like, we're just loud because they tell us to be loud. There ain't shit going on, and we're just partying and we're just doing shit the whole time. And so, they talk about opposing coaches talk about how difficult it can be to call out your line changes, to communicate with your players, and for the defensive people to communicate amongst themselves in T-Mobile because it's so loud. In Denver, that's not a problem unless there is something to actually cheer about. It's quiet as the puck's moving around the arena, like a lot of hockey arenas.
Right. Well, they want you to be polite. They don't want you to stand. They don't want you to get excited. They don't want you to be a fan. Mark is asking for maybe more of the story that you started to tell yesterday on terrestrial side. He says, please talk more about the Denver experience as a Vegas fan.
So I'll start by saying this. I went to 2 games, game 1, game 5. Denver fans are cool. They don't start shit for no reason. They don't get in your face as you come into the arena. Very casual and conversations as you come in. Nothing hostile. When I went to DC, when I went to San Jose, that was not my experience. It was fucking hostile as I was trying to get on. I was trying to get on the metro in DC to go to the arena. I had people grabbing on me, and you know how East Coasters are. You know how you guys are all in people's personal space. You know what I'm saying? As I was trying to get on, I was trying to get on the metro in DC to go to.
Sorry about that. Keep going.
I was going to say that was a hell of a delay there, and I never had any problem at all until we tied the game in game 5, and so they started hollering at me to shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. But there was more Vegas people in game 5 than there was in game 1. Game 1, I feel like I was one of less than 100, maybe one of 50. It was too quick of a turnaround for Minnesota. Game 5, there was, I'm going to say, 500 Vegas fans, something like that, in a 10,000 capacity. They weren't at full capacity yet. So they started getting a little mouthy with me, and my brother was saying, who sort of, like I said, new to hockey, but he was wearing a Rantanen jersey. He was cheering for Colorado. We look identical. He's sitting right next to me, and he's like, you know what? At game 1, they told me to sit down too. He said that the guy told me only stand up if the puck's in the net. Otherwise, sit down.
So stupid. Shut the fuck up. You pay, a ticket price to go to a game. What what arena is so lame, or what stadium is so lame where they're like, you can't stand? What are we going to a game with a bunch of freaking senior citizens? Shut up and mind your own business.
Oh yeah, and that's and I was like, as soon as he told me that, I was like, fuck that. Like that's not how I watch hockey, man. You know, and nobody in Vegas watches it that way. When there's a breakaway in Vegas, everybody stands up. They're watching the fucking breakaway. I love that shit, you know? And so you could actually see, well, it happened on every one of Vegas's goals, the 3 goals in game 5. They were all off a turnover. The first 2 turnovers in our zone. And that zone happened to be right where I was. I was 3 rows back of our shoot twice. So I'm right there. And those 2 goals in regulation came in the 3rd period. So they were right in front of me. And both times on the turnover, I was up out of my chair. I was like, here it comes, here it comes. And, you know, people are hollering at me, telling me to sit down and shut up and all that stuff. They didn't like it once we started scoring goals. Before that, it was all a laughing matter. And then in overtime, from my perspective, Stone scored that goal going away from me, but the turnover and the lead pass happened from Pacioretty right at our defending blue line to Stone. And from my perspective, it looked like an absolute breakaway because depth is a little off. You know, as I've seen replays now, I see that the 2 defenders are right on him, you know, behind him, but on him. From my perspective, it looked like he had open ice, and I'm up out of my chair. I assume it was the lady behind me. I don't know this for a fact because I never saw. Lady behind me throws both of her hands on my shoulder to try to push me back down into my seat. I shuck it off, and I keep cheering because this breakaway is about to fucking happen. And Stone buries it, obviously. Everybody knows that. And so there's Vegas fans in front of me. There's Vegas fans each side of me. And I brought a Vegas fan with me, one of my buddies. And we are all going crazy, high-fiving. I never turned around because he buries it. And then probably it took me maybe, I'm going to say 30 seconds to turn around. And when I turned around, the whole fucking section was empty. Like they cleared out so amazingly quick. I cannot fucking believe it. So I wonder what would have happened if he missed that goal, right? And then I would have been like, then I think we would have had a situation on our hands, you know, where I would have been like, hey, I know you don't like people standing, tough shit. Talk to an usher, don't touch me again, right? Like, don't touch me. But we didn't have to get there. Fuck it, we won.
It could have gotten there, but it didn't get there. Again, here's the picture from Alan Snell. That's game 5. That's Justin. There's a guy in the blue shirt, and we think a lady. By the way, not even watching the game. Not at the.
To be fair, that's intermission.
Oh, it was intermission. What were you watching?
Whatever's on the jumbotron.
Yeah, you're looking up. Okay.
Yeah. What? Actually, a couple of my buddies, 3 attorneys, were sitting on the glass.
Wow.
Right by our end on the side about the goal line. And I think at this moment they'd thrown them up on the jumbotron and crowd was maybe starting to boo. And they all went into the Captain Morgan stance. They just did it. Anyway,
that's awesome.
They're super funny. So they went out afterwards. I got on a 5 a.m. flight back. So I went to my brother's house, went to sleep, got up 3 hours later, got on a flight. They all went out afterwards, and I saw them tonight. They're avid fans like I am. And they're like, dude, funny story. You should have come out to the bar with us. We met these 2 Av fans, and they're there in the Fortress tonight. And he's like, we told them we would buy them tickets to this game and the flight out here if they would take off their Colorado stuff and put on the VGK stuff in the middle of the game. And then we coordinated it with VGK. And so they did. They did it on the jumbotron tonight.
Oh my God!
That's the deal they made, so they could come and see the game. It's cool.
This is interesting for Brady. I don't know if all Vegas people feel this way, but Brady said maybe it's because Vegas thrives on tourism. I don't mind seeing a few opposing fans, and I try to be welcoming.
I do the exact same thing. Like when I see somebody, I'm like, hey, thanks for visiting the city. I hope you had a good time. That's like my go-to sort of line, you know? The only ones that I thought were
Brady's like pump the brakes, a few, not thousands, a few.
The ones that I did not enjoy having in our arena were the Philly ones. The Philly fans.
I've heard that.
I did not like them in there.
Oh, get ready. Get ready. They're coming. They're coming here. That's going to be over the Chiefs and the Broncos. The Eagles fans coming here is going to be like, I'm not going to say the worst, but get ready. And Eagles fans better know what, they're, even though it's, a lot of the Raiders crowd could be at the Owl, could be wine and cheese. There's still going to be enough hardcore Raiders fans who are willing to pay any price to be in that stadium the first year, who are going to be ready to go after games and during games. So be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the one I specifically remember is right after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. The Flyers played in T-Mobile, whipped the shit out of us. I think it was 6-0. And the fucking Flyers fans were all up. The whole fucking arena was doing the Eagles chant. I mean, there was a lot of those motherfuckers, and I did not like it.
Yep. Never lived down this reputation. They always get mad at this too when they throw in snowballs at Santa Claus.
That's cool.
I always tell the story. Father-Child Day on the Phillies, and Darren Dalton, rest in peace, had like his 3-year-old in his arms. He walks out, he's hitting like shit. He's hitting like whatever, 190. And they boo the hell out of him with his kid in his arms. They don't care.
That kid was too young to remember.
The infamous Michael Irvin going down, appearing to be like friggin' paralyzed on the field. They're like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
they just care more.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, but I'm with Brady on that, man. It's good to have some of the visiting fans. Year one, we had a ton of that. And I thought it made every game feel a little bit playoff like. We haven't really had that since year one, where we have a lot of visiting fans during the regular season.
As you watch what they've done this year, and you watch the way he handles everything. Oh no. Do you see there is a marked difference between Gerard, Gallant, and Pete DeBoer?
And how he handles the players or the media?
Little of everything, yeah.
Yeah. I think Pete is more honest with the media, but guarded. He doesn't seem to just tell outright lies. I felt like Gallant, with a wink and a nudge, like he seemed to be very friendly with the media, but he was like, I'm going to say this even though it's bullshit. So I think Gallant was clearly more of a player's coach, and Pete DeBoer is more of an X's and O's guy. And I think in this series, the fact that he was the X's and O's guy, ultimately at the end of the day, made the difference, because I do think Colorado's the more talented lineup. I do think that they have the best line in hockey. And I think that Pete DeBoer out-game planned. The reality is he came up with a game plan that suited the fact that Colorado couldn't change their style. Colorado has a style and an identity, and they can't change it. And he played for that.
You want to play super aggressive, then the counter's coming the other way.
Yeah. You're going to have to get through 5 people at the blue line. You're going to have to get through all 5 of us to enter.
Yep.
It's tough.
Here he is, Hockey Dan, number one hockey expert for the fan in Denver. He's got the banner in the background. Did you get tons of calls tonight on the Avs losing? Are they all calling for Bednar's head? Are they mad about McKinnon calling him? Didn't Mark Kisla I thought I saw the headline in the Denver Post about choker, and the biggest gag artist of all is Nathan McKinnon, your star player.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I was the positive guy. I said I was the lone beacon of positivity in the wilderness tonight. I mean, people were upset. Adrian Daters, a hockey writer, I said if this were like an old John Wayne movie, I'd be smacking him in the face saying, "Pull yourself together, man." It's just like they're going, yeah, exactly. Like this town is going nuts right now. And here was my analysis. The Knights were the better team. What Justin said is true in that maybe roster-wise, the Avs should be more talented. But if after game one, this series really was not all that close. There was better goaltending, and the Knights played better. So Avs actually played as best they could, except for Grubauer, just had a terrible game. But the Avs were not going to win, and they weren't going to win this series.
I think it's a little hard. I think the series was razor thin, and the Knights had a little better puck placement when they had opportunities in the last couple of games. Justin,
look at tonight. There was a sequence,
but before this, the Avs were very close in all of these games to scoring a lot of goals, but I think part of it was the Knights played great defense, and when opportunities came, it started getting into the heads of some of the major players. And they rushed things, or the puck placement wasn't good on their shot opportunities. But they're a great team. They're one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NHL. And you tell us, Justin, I actually think DeBoer did make a difference. And yes, Fleury is slightly better than Grubauer.
Yeah, I agree. But to Dan's point, I was listening to NHL radio. The Power Play show was Steve Koulias. And he went down, he predicted the Knights were going to win tonight. And the reason why he predicted it, he went through all the advanced stats. And I watched every game, and I was in person for every game except game 2. And it was eye-opening to me to hear the stats. Every stat's a 5-on-5 stat. Power play, Colorado has the edge. They have a better power play than Vegas. That's clear. They scored some goals based on that, and Vegas didn't. 5-on-5 stats. Vegas outshot Colorado for the series by more than 40%, right?
There you go.
Expected goals. Vegas expected goal them almost 2-1. Actual goals did better. Every advanced metric except for one, Vegas outdid Colorado, and by a decent margin. The one stat they didn't beat them at is the stat that is designed to figure out puck luck. Who's getting the puck luck and who's not? Colorado was getting the puck luck at a rate of 2 times what Vegas was getting, according to these stats. Now, if I know how they figure out a puck luck stat, I don't. I'm 4 years hockey fan, but the advanced stat guru people, when they looked at this, were like, Vegas is the better team. So I do hear what Dan's saying in that regard, that yes, the scores were close, but the play after game 1, okay, we have 5 games after game 1. That's 15 periods. I think Vegas won 12 of the 15 periods. I really think it was like that. But I do think the reason that they won 12 of the 15 periods is because I do think DeBoer was the better coach here. He completely neutralized McKinnon. And Bednar's only answer to that. This is shocking. Game 5, Colorado has last change. They can determine matchups. McKinnon was on the ice in 5-on-5, non-power play, with Stone for a total of 13 seconds. If Stone went out on the ice, Bednar pulled in McKinnon. If Stone came off the ice, McKinnon went back in. Now, if you're supposed to be one of the top 3 players in the league, and I think McKinnon is, and I bet McKinnon thinks he is, and your coach doesn't believe in you enough to put you out on the ice against the other team's best players, how the fuck does that motivate you? What message does that send to your team? It says we're not good enough to beat them, straight up. And I think that mattered.
And I was looking tonight, there was about a 6-minute stretch in the third period where the Avalanche threw every single thing they had, all that, and they were playing like the talented Avalanche, everything they had at Vegas, and they didn't score. And I'm saying, okay, even if they had played, like, it just wasn't their series, and it was coaching, and it was even when Grubauer was playing as good as Grubauer could play, the Avalanche were getting shots. It's like Justin was saying, they got badly outshot most of these games. And then even when they were finally out shooting the Knights, they weren't scoring. And then, and then like tonight, So some of the softest playoff goals I've ever seen Grubauer let through tonight. It's like, there's no way they're winning this game. This series was not destined. You know what really turned the series? I was talking about this about 30 minutes ago on the show. I don't know what my ring size is, but if you go back, there's tape from Sam's Town. I know the Knights were listening. They listened to Cofield. It's the #1 afternoon drive show in Las Vegas, and it's bulletin board material. They were smarting after 2 losses in Denver. They had blown everything they had in game 2 and didn't come away with the victory. And they listened to me. And I predicted an Avs victory to help inspire the city of Las Vegas, one of my old hometowns. It pained me to do it, but I laid down the traffic for the Knights. And so, I expect a ring right here when the time comes, right here.
That's great. Well, I think one of the things that I haven't heard anybody discuss, but I think made a difference here, because Vegas came from behind in 5 of these 6 games, and either tied up or went on to win the game. Here's the thing. When we played Minnesota, if Minnesota got a lead, they had the ability stylistically to park the bus in front of the net and make it incredibly difficult for us to score. Colorado doesn't have that game. They don't. Their best defense is to go try score more goals. And when they try to do that, they create opportunities. And that's exactly what happened in game 5. You're up 2-0 going into the 3rd period. And you don't have the ability to just say, hey, guys, we're all coming back for defense now. We're going to park the bus in front of the goal. No shots from the inside. Everything on the outside. They don't have that game. And what'd you see? First 4 minutes, 2 transition opportunities, buried them both, tie game, 14 minutes to go. I think that was really what made the difference here. Is Colorado couldn't hold the lead because they don't play the style to do it.
So what's Vegas like tonight? Is horns honking? Is it going nuts?
Well, I mean, I'm home now, so I'm on the quiet part of town. But it took me about an hour from game end before I could pull out of my parking spot. So I hung around there for a little bit, and it was the party. The party was on from the empty netter on. Like at that point, nobody was watching hockey anymore. It was just pandemonium, drinking, hugging, high fiving. It was great.
Now, Justin, are you hoarse from all the cheering, or you didn't get sick from our little golf trip, did you?
Who knows? It could go either way. It could go either way, but I don't feel like I've had this since game 4. So I'm just gonna say I've been at every game since game 3, and I've been yelling my ass off, and they've won every game since game 3, and I've done a lot of shouting. So I attribute it to the fandom.
Yeah.
Dan, what's going to happen there? What do they do with the team? Status quo? You re-sign McKinnon? You're good to go? Coach stays around, or they make changes?
Well, that was the question all night tonight. I mean, they got some cap issues. They got free agents. Is Bednar? I mean, you got to remember what happened with the Nuggets last night. Embarrassing blowout. The day after Jokic is named MVP. And then another 2nd-round loss. I mean, how many years are we going to hear, oh, this core is going to break through? We really thought this was the year for the Avalanche. I mean, they won the President's Trophy. And it's like, well, can this coach get them any further? Is it just like Doug Collins to Phil Jackson, Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr? Is it just he doesn't have the ability to squeeze any more of this core? And now, of course, you don't get rid of McKinnon. He's the best player in hockey during the regular season anyway. But Landeskog, do you bring him back? Grubauer. I mean, what do you go with Grubauer? If he doesn't have that last COVID scare, wins the Vezina. And at times in this series, I mean, the way it seems to me in the series was he stood on his head, the Avalanche, for long stretches in the series. And then it was almost like he's like, okay, you guys are not doing anything offensively. And then he lets through a weak goal or 2, and then they lose the game, right? But you bring him back, because he's going to want big money now on the open market. That's tough, right? So the city, as far as my 2-hour show, the city was in panic mode. Like there was like nobody was having my, hey, this was an epic game. It sucks, but we were going to lose the series anyway. There was no way we were going to win with Grubauer playing like this. And when it, like I said, I keep going back to that stretch in the 6-minute stretch. This just was not our night, but at least they played with effort. They didn't tank like the Nuggets tanking, last night. So let's take some positivity away from it. People are like, no, Dan, what's wrong with you? We're soft, and I kept going back to, oh, we didn't need Kadri, right? Oh yeah, get him out of town for his dirty hit, which I didn't think there was much. It was a stupid play that hit in the first series in St. Louis, where they suspended him 8 games. Oh, it turns out they did need some toughness against the Golden Knights. It turns out that did make a difference. Because that was just, you guys know, a narrative here was people started griping as like, they're not calling anything. We need some power plays, and they're not calling anything against anybody, and they're taking away our skill, our big advantage. Vegas is not that good on the power kill, the penalty kill, and we need power plays. And maybe if there'd been a little more toughness, maybe the Avs would have had a better chance. I'm not buying into all that, but yeah. Somebody says, "Well, Adrian Dater recovered from this." Yeah, if you guys have a chance, go back and listen to our interview. I was having a little fun with old Dater. He was like despondent. He was apoplectic. So it was kind of funny. Yeah, I had heard. Although this really Ramirez, don't you guys have a history? But
Willie's one of our guys. He's a regular on the podcast too. I don't know how Willie knows Dater.
Okay, I'm not sure on that, but yeah, I think Dater had a couple moments in the presser that were not. Somebody sent me a link as well saying things were an issue.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Another one of the super fans at the Athletic. Come on, guys.
Well, he's not the Athletic anymore. He's on his own website, Colorado Hockey Now.
My bad.
But he's our insider. I mean, he comes on the show. I've known the guy for 20 years.
Someone here says, fire Adrian Dater. This isn't the first time he made a fool of himself. Okay.
Yeah, he lost his job at the Post for, you can Google it. I don't want to bring that up, but.
Well, here, let me. I will bring this up because it looks like there's a clip. Let me play the clip here. Yeah, I don't know the guy. I'm not killing him. I'm just reading what's going on Twitter, and I'm sure there's bitter fans who, instead of getting mad at their team, want to go after some media member. Let's see. Hopefully, you can hear this. Sorry about the small video, but here we go. Come on now.
Nate, I know you're a gamer and all this, and I'm just thinking maybe out loud as far as in your shoes right now. It's like, all right, we've done all the thinking we can do, we've done all the game planning we can do. Maybe just fuck it. We'll just go in next year and just not think that anymore and just win this thing when we don't think so much. Am I on the right path at all with this? Like maybe you just guys think a little too much.
Oh.
Last one here for Nathan. Mark Spector, Sportsnet.
But did he just say no and that's it?
I think he was having trouble hearing him, but he didn't even know how to respond to that. Are you guys just saying fuck it? Oh my god!
Yeah, he just looks off to the side. He's like, "Was that real? Did I hear that right?" He's like, "That just happened."
Yeah, it's like when Trevor Lawrence, when the lady was on, she didn't mute herself, and he's making fun of his haircut. It's like, what?
Yeah, I thought I heard.
I'm sorry, Willie. There was something with Willie this week where when I was in Vegas, wasn't Willie chirping with somebody?
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. I'm off base. Sorry, Willie.
Yeah. Trees and ODB responding with his own F-bomb. Laugh out loud. What the fuck was that? Yeah. Brady says the transcript reads no. That might be a joke.
That's what I thought. I thought I heard him say no. And then they went to the next question.
Well, yeah. Then he asked Bednar about getting fired or whatever. And,
oh wow.
Yeah. Like, that's one of those questions, like, you're like, well, it's got to be asked. And it's also one of those, like, well, what do you expect the guy to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I expect to be fired.
Yeah, I would fire me.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you keep bringing me back?
What do you think about, Dan? I wondered about this. After the first loss of the series, Game 3, Colorado's still up 2-1, and Bednar calls out all of his top players. It's the first game they've lost in 11 games. One game they lost, and they lost it 3-2, fucking close. And he calls out all of his top players. Do you think that was a mistake, or do you think it didn't matter ultimately?
No, because I also felt they were very fortunate to win Game 2. I really
right.
did.
Sure.
And I thought, like seriously, when I was going on with Cofield, I thought the Avalanche would come out and play a lot better because they dodged a big time bullet in Game 2 and got lucky with the goal to win it. So I think he was very frustrated. And this, you got to remember, this is a narrative. This is now kind of McKinnon's calling card. He gets to a certain round of the playoffs and he's a no-show. And this was supposed to be the year that he broke through, because all year long, all we heard was, okay, he's by far the best player in hockey now. Like, he's in a class by himself this year. And he looked awesome in the first round, had a monster play in the first game of this series. And then where is he? Like, somebody gave me a hard time. They said, Dan, you have one job in Vegas. Get us a victory. I said, I scored as many goals as Landeskog and McKinnon. What do you want me to do? You know?
Wow.
Well, in McKinnon's defense, in the bubble, fucking half of his team was on the IR. So they did have a pretty, and they were on their third goalie. So he has a little bit of a defense from the bubble.
There's a Denver Post saying Avs weekly crap out in Vegas. Time to get tough and fire Bednar. All right. How the widespread sports audience, how much actually care, or how many people actually care about the Avs? Dan?
I mean, they do care about the Avs, and they care right now. I was giving a guy on our staff a hard time tonight. He wrote an article. He's actually the head of our website, and we're probably the top sports website in Denver right now, or one of them, denverfan.com, saying this team could be the best team in the history of Denver sports. The expectation was for them to win the cup. So right now, you know, the expectations were so high for the Avalanche. So this is a huge story right now. Like our digital numbers the last couple of weeks were through the roof. So the interest in this team was very high. So if your question is, because Cofield, I know, we've talked about this before, like, oh, is Denver a hockey town? We support the Avalanche tremendously. Like, now, are we the most knowledgeable hockey fans in the history of the planet? No. Like, do we know as much as, some of the Canadian fans, or our depth of knowledge go as deep as Minnesota fans? No. Are we better fans than them? Yeah, probably, but so people are upset. This is going to sting. And there's a passionate, loyal group of Avalanche fans that will care. Now, do we care enough? Are we that passionate that we've pitched a fit about not being on TV for 3 seasons? No, I guess we don't care that much.
Yeah, Willie said, I think 8th straight President's Trophy winner not to make the Cup final. Okay.
Yep, it's the curse of the regular season, champion. But I also think people saying Bednar needs to be fired I think there's a lack of recognition there that, yes, Colorado was widely considered the best team, but they were 1A, and Vegas and Tampa were like 1B, 1C. Like, it's not like 2 years ago when Tampa got swept by Columbus in round 1 after Tampa had the best regular season in history. It wasn't that. These two teams were considered fucking very close. And so I don't think either way, whoever ended up losing this series, that should automatically mean jobs, like they're fucking evenly matched teams.
And I brought that up because people, again, it was very overreactionary tonight. So I brought that up as like this was kind of considered the de facto Stanley Cup Finals. So because people are like, second round loss, another second round loss. Like, yeah, but again, these are considered to be the two best teams in hockey. So, I don't know. Now,
it's funny. Adam Candy brought it up on our show, and he said if the Knights don't get through the series, is DeBoer on the hot seat? And I was like, Adam, I mean, the way the regular season played out, first of all, their division was ridiculous. These are two of the best, arguably the best 5 teams in hockey. Whoever gets eliminated doesn't mean the other team had a sucky season or they screwed up in the playoffs. I mean, give me a break.
Well, yeah, but no, hold on, Steve. How many times have you said that the owner here doesn't put up with his expectations are through the roof? So
about the Golden Knights,
yeah,
but they wouldn't pull the plug on DeBoer that quickly. Yeah. I think
I'm not saying they would.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have the guy in place that they like, who wants to, he coaches the way they want him to. He deals with the players the way. Gallant was just not a mix with McPhee. Foley, he is very demanding, and they have high expectations. But I don't think he would have blown him out had they lost the series.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think there was going to be a major outcry or a hanging of the heads of losing to Colorado. I think most of the fan base expected us to lose this series.
Now, the big question though is Cofield calm down because he was crying so hard about the way the regular season ended when the Golden Knights dropped that 2-1 game in Vegas right at the end, and we did the podcast, and
it's all good.
Yeah, you're all good now. Okay,
that's all good. It was part of the plan. It's all right. It's all good.
Yeah,
they were avoiding the President's Trophy jinx. I know what happened.
See, you're like, AHL's so stupid. This is the dumbest thing ever. I can't believe this.
Well, it did suck. I mean, in the end, they wound up beating him, and now they have home ice if they do make it to the Stanley Cup Final.
There you go.
I will say my one critique about the Colorado team, the one thing I didn't like is I do feel like they tried to take a lot of dives. I feel like they did try to sell penalties. In Game 5, I started counting the number of times the Colorado player, fell to the ice. It was a lot. And every time they fell to the ice, they came up and, tried to get the call. And I think that when the refs made the conscious decision, and they did, we're not blowing the whistle in this game. They did it in this game tonight, and they did it in Game 5. They only called penalties that were objective, black and white, no discretion. When they do that, and your game plan is to try to sell calls instead of try to score goals, I think mentally speaking, I think you're telling yourself you're not as good as the other team. I just think mentally from Game 4 forward, I think the Golden Knights were in a better place mentally for winning games than Colorado was. Now, had the series gone some other way, it could have flipped the other way. Mentally, in the bubble, the Golden Knights were in a terrible place, even though they ended up winning the series against Vancouver, and mentally were in an awful place when they got their ass kicked by Dallas in the conference final. So I'm not saying that Vegas is always the mentally strong team, but that momentum in this after Game 4, I feel like Colorado was ready to jump off the bridge, and Vegas was, ready to seize the opportunity. Well, I hope that's not true.
Well, Montreal, get ready to talk crap because you are being disrespected, like I posted earlier, and some of the listeners, check that, the viewers. Montreal is a big dog, so VGK anywhere from a 450 down to 420 favorite. So if you like the Canadians to pull the upset, then you're going to get plus 320, plus 350, maybe even a little bit higher. So shop the number. All right. I think that'll wrap it tonight. We had a good run here. Dan, I appreciate you chiming in.
Yeah, I appreciate the Knights. They saved me a steak over at Elway's. I was going to by the way, seriously though, gracious, very, very gracious host, Mr. Watkins took me out to the nice club, the country club, and got me around to golf in a nice steak. nice ribeye that I posted on Twitter.
My
and
God.
it was a very gracious host. And I was going to return the favor for Game 7, but it didn't happen.
Next year, conference finals.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So, yeah. And I enjoyed spending time with you guys. I had a great, other than I wasn't feeling, I stopped sharing the driver with Justin about probably too late in the round because I'm like, I don't want to get you sick. Hopefully you're just not feeling, hopefully that wasn't it. But enjoyed seeing both you guys during the trip, and it was a good time out there.
All right, Justin, I appreciate you gutting it out last couple of spots with me on radio and up here with no voice. So,
damn right. Go Knights.
I will talk to you early next week as we'll looks like we'll be out at the Battle Barn Broadcast Center on Tuesday. So everyone have a good weekend, and then Knights are back at it on Monday.